So we had a big story that came out this week, and we had the reporter that covered the Nixon White House tape. He also got another president to really reveal a lot. And Woodward, is he a hero or is he greedy trying to sell books when he released the tapes just recently this past week?
Why not both?
Yeah, I think you can do good things without being considered a hero. This guy, he was a hero for what he did to the Nixon administration. There's no doubt about that. But there's a little bit of just self-interest in mind. You know, he held on to it just a little bit too long just so he could finish his book and get all the hype around it. But there's also I flip-flopped on this. I used to think he was just another corporate d-bag who didn't want to testify. Like he was Mike Bolton. That's how I saw him in my head. He just wanted to release a book, make his money, and walk away. But then I thought about it more. I read about it more, and this guy had 18 separate recorded conversations with Donald Trump, and there's no way you're getting the second or the third conversation if you release the tapes right away. You know, if they came out and they were just after the first meeting, Donald Trump knows about coronavirus, Woodward tape leak, you're not getting any of the other 18 meetings, and you don't know what he has. Potentially, this could go on and on until November, just leaking all of the things that Donald Trump has said, and you can't trust what he says behind closed doors. So there's potentially so much more to push him against the wall that we would have had.
Who cares about those 17 other tape, dude? That's over 100,000 people died. Like, who cares? Like, I mean, you could have saved so many lives if you saved it. So who really cares that he had more interview with him and he has his other 17 tape?
How about the point?
Listen,
I'm sorry, hold on real quick. How about the point that he could have just released that one part of the tape after he got the 19 tapes? He could have then released that little part. What do you think, Felipe?
Yeah,
No,
I don't think.
go ahead,
Before I go there, I can't let
Yeah.
a chance go back to slam on the DNC. Not to defend Bolton, but if he said if he was subpoenaed, he would have gone. So the Democrats could have forced him to go and then go to court if necessary. But can't let a chance go by to show how weak these Democrats are that are in power. But as far as the tapes being released back then, I think I definitely think he held on to them for money, but also I don't think they would have had the same impact now. You talk about the lives, John, but back then not that many people has died, so it wouldn't have been seen as important, if you get what I'm saying. And Trump would have just rubbed it, put it under the rug or whatever. So I definitely think that on the one hand, do it early to show that he was lying, but on the other hand, we knew he was lying. Like, he had people in his administration, like Dr. Fauci, saying the opposite, that it was very deadly. So we knew he was lying already.
Yeah, but you have to understand though, he was out there in the public saying this is nothing to worry about. This is a virus that's going to go away in a few days. That's what he was saying in the public. I think, okay, maybe if people would have heard this in February, it wouldn't have had as much of an impact. But what about March? What about April? What about when we were really in the thick of this and everybody was on lockdown? Yeah. And all of his supporters are like, oh, this is no big deal. Trump is saying it's no big deal. Just take some hydroxychloro, whatever, Quinn. yeah. And you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like, I think it could have had an impact back then. Maybe, September is obviously way too late. February may be too early, but maybe it could have been really.
So that's why I think it's both, that he did hold on to it, because if it would have reached it in February, I don't think it would have had impact. But maybe in April it will have more impact. But then
but it could have saved some lives, and like you had states that were relying on federal government. If you look at the King Como, right? Like he waited till like late March to do any. If any of these being released, and they're like, oh, you know what? Like they know they were lying, but this guy is actually in public and there's something, they would have acted quickly and they wouldn't just rely on the federal government. So, well, the federal government saying it's not a big deal. And even though, we think that Donald Trump is lying, we're going to take their lead and led to worse. So like if we could have saved 20,000 lives, that's 20,000 lives. People couldn't even have to die.
Yeah, I agree.
Carlito, I want to go back to a point that you said a minute ago, that the DNC was a little bit weak in not subpoenaing Bolton. It's really easy to say you're going to go back and do something after the pressure is off, he made it really clear that if the Democrats tried to subpoena him in the House, he was going to fight it to death in court, which would have made impeachment look much worse on the Dems. Because the options were push it through into the Senate and let the Senate vote, or let it sit for 3 months waiting for it to go to federal court and then potentially Supreme Court. And then the worst case scenario, Supreme Court says, no, he doesn't need to testify. And then the Dems just lose all of their steam. They lose their polling, and impeachment is a bad thing. Whereas if they
it was a bad thing to begin with.
Listen, we argue.
I think they did their job. But
well, I don't think they did their job well. I think whether you think they should have impeached or not, once you go into it, you got to go all in. You can't do it halfway. So
I'm in agreement, but I'm just saying, like, their point of view.
So they should have subpoenaed and fight it in court and do whatever it takes to do what they set out to do. You know, you can't just go in and say like, oh, we're going to impeach. We're not going to reply. Okay, don't. Come on now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, but also the other point, Woodward, he is the hero that brought down the Nixon administration. Maybe he's not the only one that did it, but he played a really large role in exposing Watergate, and with his tapes did lead to the end downfall of Richard Nixon.
I mean, I think it did. Well, I guess a little perspective. Like, the reason why Woodward and Bernstein are so important is because President Nixon, he was a sitting president. He had people break into the DNC headquarters in the Watergate Hotel in DC. And then the people got caught. They found out the money was linked to the Nixon re-election campaign. Then after that, Nixon tried to cover up, while being president, tried to cover everything up. And then finally, there were some tapes that he had recorded. They found out about it. And the Supreme Court forced Nixon to release the tapes. And that's when when it was made clear, everybody, that he was lying the whole time and he was covering up the whole thing. And, eventually he resigned rather than get removed, and then his VP became president and immediately proceeded to pardon him. So, nothing happened to him really. So that's why Woodward and Bernstein were so important, because they published all these things about Watergate under threats. Nobody wanted them to do it. So I guess you could consider them heroes, but at the same time, they're I don't know, doing their job, and they could be accidental heroes, because Woodward, he was like pro-Iraq war. You know what I'm saying? He was fed information about Valerie Plame, back then. So he's not like, I guess nobody's perfect. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But
he's a mixed bag.
Speaking, that Watergate stuff, it was very important, but it doesn't mean that he's going to be one of our progressive heroes or whatever.
I know one of the things with Woodward is that he's very chummy with the military-industrial complex, if I could say that, or the CIA, and he has a lot of sources from within those corners of the government. So I think that's definitely why he couldn't be anti-war, because now he's not getting. He's not going to be able to get those sources anymore. So I can see why he probably wasn't anti-war at that time. Just like anybody, everything's nuanced. Is in the gray.
And there was one story that I read about him. I forgot, he was editor or something, but there was somebody that wrote a piece about like an 11-year-old girl that was like a drug addict, and it was completely fabricated, nothing true about it. And they told him this. She got nominated for like a Nobel Prize, Pulitzer, I guess, is the writing award. And after the fact, he was still saying, well, it doesn't matter that it was fabricated, it was still a good story, So that kind of points towards like the greed aspect of him and holding the tape. So that's why I say, it could be greed and kind of a hero at the same time.
Yeah. Definitely.
But you saw what Trump tweeted about it, right? He's like, he went about it and he just made it about just he trying to make money.
One thing about Trump, man, he knows how to shape the narrative. He's like the total opposite of Barack Obama in the sense of using the bully pulpit to get his side of the story out. What if we had a progressive who would do the same thing but do it for Medicare for all, do it on the behalf of universal basic income? I'm looking forward to that day coming one day. Go ahead, Felipe.
That's AOC right now. I mean, much smaller scale, obviously, but has not had the name brand that Donald Trump has had for 40 plus years.
Yeah, but we know what's going to happen, because even when Bernie tried to talk, we know how AOC is being stamped down, and we talked in one of our previous episodes when I brought up Alan Grayson, how what they did to him was basically primary him with a centrist Democrat.
Yeah.
So we get hit from both sides, man.
Yeah, totally. We got to get rid of this capitalist media, or we got to decrease their strength. We can't get rid of them, but we got to shape the narrative. Go ahead.
Another thing about Trump is that, he's trying to claim he's doing it for money, and all I was trying to do is make people calm. That is complete BS, because all he does is trying to get people riled up. Right now, he's trying to get people riled up about, minorities are going to move into your neighborhood and increase your prices, or the Karen is coming any day now.
Yeah.
Anything you could think of. Biden's America, even though Biden's not president. All he does is whatever is going to be good for his reelection. He doesn't care about calming anybody down at all, because otherwise he wouldn't have told all those people to go and charge into the Michigan State House and curse out the cops and the Congress people there and everything like that. So it's BS.
Yeah.
And the sad part is that Fox News and his followers, they believed all of that.
Yeah, they eat it up.
Listen, I was scouring the Fox News front page to look for anything about these tapes. They're not gonna know. They're just not gonna know about it.
It's not there. Wow. In the comments below, let us know what you think about the Woodward tape. Is he a hero? Is he greedy for his books? We would love to know. Definitely like, subscribe, and we would love to hear from you.